What markets hate the most out of everything is uncertainty. Trump is not your standard politician. He's a little crazy.
A lot of people are saying Ethereum is dead.
If Vitalik could start all over again and do it now, he would make different choices.
With his 1.58 million subscribers, Austin Arnold from Altcoin Daily doesn't just follow the latest crypto narratives. He helps shaping them. In our last conversation almost a year ago, he predicted Bitcoin would hit $120,000 at the peak of this bull market. But back then, Donald Trump wasn't even part of the equation, and now the picture has completely changed. So I sat down with Austin again to find out how his outlook for this crypto cycle has shifted. This is an interview you don't want to miss. Before we get started, remember, this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Also, both me and Austin own some of the crypto assets we mentioned in the video. I'm Giovanni, let's get started. We had a few rough couple of days. As we all know, there was a big crash, and that crash was apparently caused by Donald Trump, who imposed new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, and that created the fear of a tariff war, an imminent tariff war, which scared off the markets. That caused a massive liquidation event, billions of dollars of crypto being liquidated. Austin, we always talk about Trump, the Trump factor as a positive, a net positive for crypto. But in this case, it seems that it worked the other way around. What's your take on this?
Yeah, this is a negative. Trump is both a positive and a negative. And just to sort of back up and clue in the audience on exactly what happened, tariffs, or the fear of tariffs and the action of tariffs sucked out the liquidity of all markets. Now, the interesting thing is this was announced officially on a Saturday, and markets were closed when this first happened, except for Bitcoin, except for crypto. So a lot of this reaction, I think in a lot of sense, was an overreaction in the short term, just because there was fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the reason there was fear is because what tariffs essentially do, they constrict global commerce. They put a tax on global commerce. So people are incentivized, if you're an American, to keep manufacturing, keep commerce in America. If you want to trade with Canada or Mexico, that's going to cost you a little bit. So in the short term, it constricts markets, which is bad for, everything in the short term. So that was the fear. And the biggest sort of, I think the reason that Bitcoin crashed is because what markets hate the most out of everything is uncertainty. So if it's good news, markets obviously love that. They can price that in. Even if it's bad news, long term, if we know what's coming, that can be priced in. The fact that Trump, for lack of a better word, is different than other presidents. He's a little crazy. He goes to the beat of his own drum. That's what the American people wanted. And he's using this as a negotiating technique. And people don't know exactly how long this will last. For example, just today it was announced, and this could be old news by the time this is posted, but they're going to put, I think, a 1 month pause on the Mexican tariffs as they talk more. So because there's uncertainty in the market, and because this was announced on a Saturday when nothing else was open, Bitcoin and crypto crashed.
We already see that the market has been partially recovering from the crash. What I want to ask you is regarding the long-term effects, because some analysts are saying that if more tariffs are coming from Trump, for example, apparently there is some intention to impose tariffs on the EU. I'm not sure where or if they will come, but there is this sort of worrying. So essentially, tariffs, according to some analysts, are bad for crypto, in general, for the market, because they create inflation. They create an environment where we're going to have higher interest rates. That means that less liquidity is flowing into risk-on assets like crypto.
Tariffs in the short term are bad for crypto, bad for all markets, in my opinion. Tariffs in the long term, good for Bitcoin, good for crypto, specifically Bitcoin, because let's just play this out to the natural, the long-term conclusion. If tariffs are sustained, Giovanni, long-term, I mean, the worst-case scenario would be a global tariffs war. That's essentially a constriction of the economy. That's a global currency crisis, as well as just economic chaos. That's good for Bitcoin in the sense that these other countries, they have a weaker currency than the dollar. They'll be forced to implement quantitative easing in some sense. And every time they turn the money printers on or do any sort of quantitative easing, long term, very good for Bitcoin, very good for crypto. Crypto thrives in that environment.
A lot of people are actually waiting for crypto policies, new favorable crypto policies to be finally implemented. What would be, according to you, a key piece of crypto regulation that we really need from Trump?
Two pieces of crypto regulation America needs, not tomorrow, it needs today, is proper definitions on how to regulate crypto. And what that means to me is we need to understand what is classified as a security, what's classified as a commodity. To do that, I think the only question we have to answer is what makes a cryptocurrency sufficiently decentralized? Is that over 60%? Do we define that by the nodes, by the token supply? These are very easy things to understand. And if you, or these are very easy things to define. We just have to do it. Understand, okay, what's a digital collectible, NFT, meme coin? What's kind of cryptocurrencies are used for games versus commerce versus smart contract platforms? These standard definitions are coming. David Sachs, crypto AI czar, says they're coming. So we need the A, number one. Number two, less important, but I think number two of importance is a Bitcoin strategic reserve, whatever that means. And the bare minimum of, to me, what that means is a stockpile, meaning the Bitcoin we already have, the 1%, 2%, whatever that is, keep it. We're not going to sell it. And that, since we already have it, that's no risk to the American people. It's not going to cost the American people anything extra. If we do extra, let's do the Cynthia Loomis plan of buying 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years and making that our strategic reserve. That's the top of the pile. Even if we just go bottom of the pile, those are the top two most important things for crypto holders.
What do you think for 2025? Are there the premises for a Solana ETF or another ETF to be approved?
Giovanni, a Solana ETF is coming. A Chainlink ETF is coming. Bitwise just filed for a Dogecoin ETF. All bets are off in 2025 and beyond. Now that we know we're in a pro-crypto administration, specifically with Trump, pro-altcoin, and these companies want to package cryptos together to make it easier for their clientele to buy, to make it safer for the public, which is the purpose of some of these ETFs. I think we can read the signals, and the same signals we were getting that an Ethereum ETF is highly likely to happen. We're seeing right now with Solana, with Litecoin might be the next one.
Litecoin. I thought that, Litecoin sounded to me a bit of these cryptos that have been slowly losing ground and falling into almost irrelevance. Why do you mention Litecoin?
I follow Eric Balchunas and James Seifert, and they're the Bloomberg ETF analysts. The signals they're getting is Litecoin's good to go. Litecoin is a copy of Bitcoin, as you know. So just in terms of an easy add, if we prove Bitcoin, this has the similar code. It's almost the same thing. It's a safe option. I didn't say Litecoin is going to be relevant in 10 years, Giovanni. I just said it's going to get an ETF.
The price performance of Ethereum in the last 2 years and a half, since 2022, actually has been pretty disappointing. But it's not just about price. We see that, for example, a volume on DEXs, we see that Solana has taken over. We see that last year, more developers have flown into Solana than they had into Ethereum, for example. So a lot of people are saying Ethereum is dead. But I'm curious to know your take. Is 2025 the year where Ethereum bounces back? And if so, what could be the catalyst?
I hold a lot of Ethereum. I also hold Solana. I agree with you that Ethereum, for one reason or another, is not the new hotness anymore. If you're a developer, if you're building, you're going to other chains. For example, last year when PayPal launched their stablecoin, they didn't choose to do it on Ethereum. Not even an Ethereum L2. They chose to do it on Solana. When Trump launched his meme coin, and the millions of other meme coins we're seeing, they're primarily on Solana. I think just reading the tea leaves, looking at the narrative, because Altcoin Daily, we speak to an audience of over 3 million subscribers across all social platforms. And we try and bring our audience this sort of alpha every day. To me, if you're going to Ethereum, I think many developers, if they're choosing that route, they're going to the L2s. They'd rather go to base. It's sort of the new hotness. It's easier. You still get the infrastructure, the security of Ethereum. But unfortunately, if you're an Ethereum holder, all that value doesn't necessarily accrue to the base chain like it did if you're just on the base layer. Now, the good news is it's more scalable. It's faster than if you're just on, if everything, all the congestion was happening on ETH. If I'm looking at Ethereum in 2025 specifically, I think you have to ask yourself, are you an investor or are you a trader? If you're a trader, then there's no reason to go to Ethereum because Ethereum is more of a 5-year outlook, 10-year outlook. I think the fact that we're seeing all these L2s build on ETH, I think that's huge fundamental signal value in the long term that ETH will be here for the next cycle in 4 years and 8 years. Doesn't mean Solana won't be here too. ETH still has competition, unlike Bitcoin. But I think just the fact that we're seeing the value accrual on these layer 2s, huge signal to me that Ethereum will be here. It's not going to make the most money in 2025. I think it'll do great. I think it'll do well, but I think the headlines will go to the more riskier plays. It's all about your time horizon and how much risk you want to take on. And Ethereum is boring in a sense, in a good way, but it's also not going anywhere.
Okay, interesting. Because I was talking today to an analyst who we were discussing Ethereum, and he was saying that according to him, the Ethereum Foundation made a mistake when they bet on this structure of layer 1s and layer 2s. The layer 2s are sucking out the value from the base layer.
I think if Vitalik could start all over again and do it now, he would make different choices. I think he's forced. I mean, he was an innovator, one of the first. They're already down that path. But when you look at Cardano or you look at Solana or Sui, and I'm no developer, but all the coding improvements that could be made or developmental improvements that could be made were made on these other chains in terms of composability, in terms of scalability, which Ethereum, they're sort of coming in from behind. They have the biggest network effect, but they're, in a sense, playing catch up or running so fast they can't slow down now. Now, the thing Ethereum has is network effect and a certain trust and a certain strength because it's been around for so many years. So the other chains wish they had that. It's sort of a game of, it's sort of a race right now. Who can go down farther first? Who can accomplish more first? Can these other chains get that security, get that reliability in the zeitgeist, or can Ethereum scale? In 2025, it looks like it's leaning towards Solana and lower cap altcoins, but this is how it always goes in a bull market versus a bear market, in my opinion. In a bull market, you feel better about betting on the more speculative plays. In a bull market. In a bear market, everything contracts to the most trusted chains. And right now, we're in a bull market.
Yeah, for sure. Also, we need to consider that Solana touched quite low bottoms at the bottom of the previous bear market. And so its resurgence was so much more impressive because it went so much down, unlike Ethereum for sure.
Giovanni, let me ask you this. If you had $1,000 today and you were starting over and you can only invest in 3 coins, not Bitcoin, or you can invest in anything, would you put it all in Ethereum, all in Solana, or what's one other one?
I would go 50-50 into both of them.
Okay. Betting on both.
What do you think are going to be the crypto sectors or crypto assets that you think are gonna perform very well in 2025, but that you feel are not being discussed so much about?
This is a great question. And to start with the sectors that I think will continue to perform well, but people know it. You're asking for the one people maybe are sleeping on right now, but the ones that I'm bullish on that I think are going to perform well, that people do know about. AI, hugely bullish on that. I think meme coins aren't going away. Now, that's way more speculative. Those would sort of be my top 2 in terms of most obvious to the retail community when they jump in. I think second tier would be Deepin. Hugely bullish on that, but I do think it's a little harder narrative-wise for an average person to grasp right away. And then DeSci, I think that's up and coming. It's easy. Binance, Brian Armstrong, Coinbase, both building in that space or investing in that space. I think that will continue to be a narrative. Now, having said all that, people are aware. The one crypto narrative that I'm bullish on and nobody's talking about, at least not since 2021, I think is crypto gaming. Now, the reason nobody's talking about it is because so many people got burned in 2021. NFTs came and went, and gamers decided they weren't into it anymore. In the last 4 years, the innovation and the actual real games building are undeniably so much better than 4 years ago. And I think nobody's talking about it. I also think, just like in 2024 for AI, when Sora got announced, the AI altcoin sector blew up. And Sora had nothing to do with cryptocurrency per se, but people just rediscovered, oh, this is still here. This is not going away. I think maybe when we see, if this happens this year or maybe in the next 10 years, hopefully this year, the launch of GTA 6 or another big fundamental gaming Web 2 announcement, I think that's going to be a huge reminder that crypto gaming is still here. There's games now that people are playing, that the masses are playing. They don't even know they're crypto games. The big winner, one of them in 2024, was on Avalanche, off the grid. It's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, it's on PC. And that Avalanche team was posting all the wallets that were onboarded, tens of thousands of wallets that were onboarded as it went, as people started playing. Ninja live streamed it. Dr. Disrespect live streamed it as well. I'm running nodes for it. So I just think the games have changed, and that's still being slept on.
I see that Trump has embarked on a crusade to put down the interest rates, which is good for crypto traditionally. But the Fed seem to want to take a bit more of a conservative approach. What do you think? How are these factors going to impact the crypto markets in the coming months?
I think what's more important than what Jerome Powell, the Fed, does today or yesterday, whenever the people are watching, what's more important than he does is the tone he takes and the verbiage he uses on his outlook going forward. Because whether he just holds rates the same or cuts today, I think the market's pricing in just a hold. We know that we're in a cutting phase for the rest of the year. That's very different than 2024 and 2023, where we're in a risk-off environment. Rates were being hiked. Since the end of last year, we're in a risk where you can go more risky plays this year as they take down rates. So whether that happens today, later in the year, whether it's one rate cut or three, macro is looking better for riskier assets. So it all depends on what he says. I think it's hilarious that Trump is signaling out loud that he wants Jerome Powell to cut rates. Usually you're supposed to separate that. Now this is Trump's second time in office, so he's just saying this stuff out loud now. And it's clear. I mean, it's so obvious that as a guy that's in real estate or just an investor, you want rates low. I totally get that. I think it'll be funny if there's sort of a head-to-head later this year of, will Jerome Powell cave to Trump? What's going to happen? But either way, whether it's one rate cut or three, rates aren't going up. The only thing that would be outrageously bad in the short term would be if they hike rates, because that changes the macro outlook from what we knew it. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think that you were the one who took an interview with CZ when he went out from prison. How did you get the honor to interview him in that occasion, and what was your broad impression about it?
That was so crazy, in a fun way. It was literally, well, the Binance CMO had been in our DMs a couple of days before that, saying, "Hey, have this opportunity. I would love to jump on a phone call with you." No, I think was in Dubai, so the times are off. And me and Aaron, for better or for worse, Giovanni, we don't have a team. We have very little team. We have our friend answer the emails, but the daily videos we make ourselves, the thumbnail we make ourselves. So for that reason, we don't like to schedule just general meetings unless it's more, let's talk about in the email what we're going to talk about, so we know we're on the same page. So we were trying to get the CMO to like say in the email, what is this about? Happy to jump on a call, but like, let's suss this out more in the email. And anyway, she was like, no, it's got to be, I want to give you, it's easy, requested this, and I want to give you the opportunity in person to say yes or no. And in my mind, I'm like thinking, is this person even real? Is this a scam? CZ requested this. Um, it was totally legit. Long story short, that's how close it was. Sunday, the Binance people said, hey, CZ's going to do his first interview. He remembered when you guys did that interview with him a couple of years ago on your channel. He would love if you guys could be on stage with him and do this one. And if so, could you hop on a plane tomorrow? And we obviously said yes. That's one of the beauties of working for yourself, being a digital nomad in crypto, even though I'm based in Los Angeles. So both me and my brother go there, had an excellent time. And it was also cool that we got to hang out with CZ briefly at like this Binance party in Abu Dhabi the night before, which is just better than seeing somebody right before you're about to go on stage with them. You get to hang out a little. CZ was very cool in the sense that he looked both me and my brother right in the eye and he said, ask me the tough questions. Whatever you guys want to know, feel free to ask. Obviously, I reserve the right to maybe not answer if it's too personal, but this is the time to ask the tough questions. So feel free. And he couldn't have been cooler about it.
Among all the crypto personalities that you have talked to, interviewed in the last 12 months, let's say, which one was the most impressive according to you, and why?
I would say recently, Michael Saylor is always going to be a favorite. He brings the views. This is the third time he was on our channel. He's great. I would say CZ because one, it came with the whole Dubai experience, and two, he's just a innovator in this space. He's a not a kingmaker, but a tastemaker in the sense that he really has his pulse on things. So he was really cool. Sailor, CZ, and one I'm looking forward to that's coming up is, and I'm doing that tomorrow. It probably won't be released till next week, but I'm interviewing Roger Ver, which again is just like an OG in the space. He wants to come on and talk about how he wants the pardon from Trump. That's awesome. Just can't wait to ask him about that. And then also, I want to know his updated thoughts on Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin. Because if you were around back then, big contention back in 2017. And I did actually get to hang out with Roger Ver. I shared an hour-long car ride with him on a way to karate combat in Dubai last year through another mutual friend who was driving. So kind of talked to him there. And this could not be a nicer guy. So I think it's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, actually, I interviewed him as well in 2018, I think, and he sent me some Bitcoin Cash over the Skype call. So that was quite cool back then.
Bitcoin Cash Jesus, as they say.
Yeah. So just to wrap up the conversation, I just want to ask you this final question. Last year, when we talked, you gave a prediction for Bitcoin price for this bull cycle. You were saying around something 120,000. Back then, the Trump factor was not there yet. So maybe now you have reformulated your prediction for the end of this bull cycle.
I was saying 120 cycle top for Bitcoin back in 2023. So when Bitcoin was around between $20,000 and $30,000, sentiment could not be lower. And there was no ETF. That wasn't even in the zeitgeist to retail at that time. And the reason I said that is just based on math. Bitcoin has always at least 3x'd from previous all-time highs for its new cycle top in the new cycle. For example, in 2017, it was around 20K. It 3x'd to a little over 60K. Now we also have diminishing returns. So let's say only 2x's, and let's take our cycle top from 2021, which is 69. Let's bring it down to 60 and say it only 2x's. That's 120. And that was always my base case. Bare minimum, if nothing else, I think we'd get that. Trump really, now the beauty of not just Trump, but anything, if you get closer to the finish line, you get more data. And it is easier to pinpoint exactly where you believe an outcome will be. To me, Trump really changed maybe my outcome on altcoins, on where they're going to be in the future, because I think Bitcoin is grinding up regardless. But I'm going to keep, Giovanni, my base case, my most conservative case at 120. Now, I think my mid case, or the thing I most believe, is I think it's very realistic to see a 140, high end 160 Bitcoin towards the end half of this year, maybe into 2026. The only thing Donald Trump related that would change my mind on that is if the United States actively starts buying Bitcoin, not just holding the stockpile they already have, but it goes through Congress. They're buying 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years. That's a game changer. That was not priced in. That would send my price target, at least for the short term, end of this year, beginning of 2026, around 200,000 BTC. Now, the big difference is that 5-year plan for 1 million Bitcoin that lasts over 5 years. So really, it also changes my outlook next cycle and the cycle after that. But for this spike cycle specifically, 140 to 160, end of this year, very realistic, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Giovanni, how about you, man? How about you? You have your pulse on the market. You interview some of the best people in this space. You've been in this space a long time. Realistically, when your friends ask you this, what do you think for this cycle?
I'm also quite conservative. I would say 120.
I respect it.
Yeah, Austin, thanks a lot for coming on our show. And let's talk again in maybe 1 year from now, or maybe even earlier, to see what of these predictions will have come to reality.
Thank you so much for having me on, man. I love being on here. Cointelegraph is a juggernaut in the space, puts out some of the best news, so it's an honor to be here.